Hi there, welcome back to my YouTube channel Investment Mindset. I recall when I posted my first video on Icon Offshore stock, naming it as the possible next winner stock call for myself. I did receive some comments from subscribers informing me that the price consolidation announced by Icon Offshore recently to consolidate every 5 ordinary shares into one would crash the stock price of Icon Offshore Berhad. He further shared with me what had happened way back in January 2020, where Icon Offshore also did a consolidation of 50 shares into one and the stock price crashed badly. This is the reason why he and many others think that this time Icon Offshore Berhad share may also crash badly upon its second consolidation of shares, which is estimated to be completed by third quarter this year. Through my stock trading experience, I know that if a stock is compelled to do reverse split or consolidation of share due to its stock's price failing to meet the minimum trading price, usually would crash the stock prices. Like in the US, any penny stock must not trade under USD $1 for a continuous period of 6 months. If this penny stock failed to lift up its price to above USD $1 within a given timeline, then the stock would be compelled to do a reverse split, or some call it consolidation of shares, in order to boost back up the share price to above USD $1. In such a situation, the likelihood of this stock crashing down in its prices are on the higher side. But over here in Malaysia, there is no such ruling imposed, and any share consolidation undertaken by a publicly traded shares are usually undertook by the management as a strategy to strengthen its capital base and also to prevent excessive manipulation on its stocks due to its low absolute price. This is also the reason why I am picked to find out what really could have caused Icon Offshore stock price to crash back then. So did the share consolidation undertook by Icon Offshore Berhad way back in January 2020 have caused its share price to crash hard, or was it due to other events? If you are also keen to know like myself, make sure you watch this video till the end. Before I begin, allow me to shed some history onto Icon Offshore Berhad. Icon Offshore Berhad was formed in 2012 via the merger of Tanjung Kapal Services Sdn Berhad and Omni Petro Maritime Sdn Berhad. It was listed on Bursa Malaysia in June 2014 and at an IPO price of RM1.85 per share, raising Ringgit Malaysia 534.69 billion. On 9 January 2020, Icon Offshore Berhad announced a share consolidation of every 50 existing ordinary share into one consolidated share. Ex-date 22nd January 2020. On 22nd January 2020 Wednesday, which was the ex-date of consolidation of Icon Offshore Berhad stock of 50 into 1, we saw, as per the chart over here, Icon Offshore stock kept down to open at 21 cents, which was a sharp fall from the last closing price of RM1.75 on a day earlier. Imagine you open up your eyes the next day and saw this stock which you held on only a day ago. Your stock value has vanished by 88% to trade at opening price of 21 cents. What kind of nightmare would that be for any stock trader or investors? One could only imagine. Intrigued to find out what has caused such a great fall in its stock price, I googled and found this article. It explained that Icon Offshore stock price fell sharply after market regulator moved to designate the counter last Friday, that is on 24th January 2020, due to excessive speculative activity. The accord of designated counters means trading of Icon Offshore shares or warrants will now require upfront payment before buying orders are allowed and a free balance of securities before selling. This event dampened the demand for Icon Offshore share, and the trading volume was down by 93%, below the 20-day average, with a total of 437,000 shares worth Ringgit Malaysia 247,000 exchanging hands. So the fall in Icon Offshore share price way back in January 2020 was clearly not due to the consolidation of its shares exercise, but due to the designate of its securities by Bursa Malaysia. And at the same time, during that same period, the disposal of large amount of shares, around 972,000 shares by one of its substantial shareholder, that is Urus Harta Jamaah Sdn Berhad, which I believe could have also contributed to the further crash of Icon Offshore stock price way back then. In fact, the share consolidation announcement did cause the company shares to have rallied a week prior to going ex-state. So this reinforces my belief, which I have shared earlier, that the consolidation of shares for Icon Offshore Berhad should be viewed positively for its stock's prices. And on 17 February 2020, when Bursa announced its decisions to uplift the designated securities on Icon Offshore, and we saw that the stock price kept up to open at 38.5 cents from its previous closing price of 23.5 cents and rallied to highest price of 53.5 cents before closing back down at 17.5 cents. At a high of 53.5 cents, it was a surge of 127% within a day. Wow. But such a drastic surge is only like a shooting star. It didn't last long before it came all the way back down to close at 17.5 cents on the very same day. And on the next trading day, it opened lower at 10.5 cents. This is indeed one super volatile stock. Since then, Icon Offshore Berhad stock has been trading within a range bound of 0.08 cents to 15 cents. Now, fast forward to today. Icon Offshore Berhad stock price last closed at 0.08 cents. So is Icon Offshore stock a buy now at this price? Speaking of which, I did notice some great changes in Icon Offshore Berhad's return on capital. So let's have a look. While the return on capital employed is rather low for Icon Offshore Berhad at around 4.3%, versus its industry average of 6.6%, I am glad to see Icon Offshore management seems to be heading in the right direction. Based on its latest balance sheet 31st December 2022, I noticed that the company has reduced its ratio of current liabilities to total assets from 27.93% to a low of 9%, which broadly means the business is now relying less on its suppliers or short-term creditors to fund its operation. This tells us that Icon Offshore Berhad has grown its return without a reliance on increasing their current liabilities, which I'm rather happy with. And secondly, with the recent proposal made by its management to first consolidate every 5 shares into one, would help to reduce its existing public float from 2.6 billion to about 541 million. This, in my humble opinion, would help to reduce maximum volatility of Icon Offshore shares price moving forward, and also make it easier for the share price to trade back to at least its fundamental or fair value price, which in one of my past videos I did share. Icon Offshore net tangible assets per share is at 13 cents. Most publicly traded shares usually trade above its net tangible assets per share. Secondly, the proposed termination of its existing ESOS and replacing it with LTIP would help the company to prevent further dilution of its shares, but at the same time still help to achieve the same objective of attracting talents and instilling loyalty in them. And thirdly, the proposal to reduce issued share capital of Icon Offshore Berhad by Ringgit Malaysia 830 million. This action will help to eliminate the accumulated losses of the group in its entirety, while the balance, if any, will be credited to the retained earnings of the group. Following this proposed capital reduction, Icon Offshore Berhad is estimated to have retained earnings of approximately Ringgit Malaysia 7.19 million, and Icon share capital will also be reduced from existing Ringgit Malaysia 1.147 billion to Ringgit Malaysia 317.32 million. And according to the management, the rationale of capital reduction is intended to address the past accumulated losses of the group and to facilitate the declarations of dividends in the event the company has retained earnings in the future. To me, this is good news as an existing shareholder or a potential one, as this means the current management is confident of its business future prospect and anticipating profitable years to come, and its ability and intention to pay dividends to its shareholders in the future. And now let me share the recent Icon Offshore Berhad first quarter earnings result, which has just been released. Its first quarter 2023 result recorded a Ringgit Malaysia 0.002 loss per share, which was down from Ringgit Malaysia 0.001 profit way back in first quarter last year. It recorded a revenue of Ringgit Malaysia 43.3 million, which is a 35% decline from last year's same quarter. And it also recorded Ringgit Malaysia 4.25 million net loss, which was a down from 244% from profit in first quarter 2022. And its revenue is forecasted to stay flat during the next 3 years, which is in line with the revenue forecast for the energy services industry in Malaysia. Looking at its latest first quarter earning 2023, many may think that maybe they should stay away from Icon Offshore Berhad stock for now. But for me, I beg to be a contrarian traders or investors. Based on this article, I see that Icon Offshore this year, as of March 2023, has recorded an order book of above Ringgit Malaysian 600 million and currently trading at 0.08 cents. Icon Offshore Berhad is trading at a market cap of only about Ringgit Malaysia 217 billion. This to me looks promising. So will Icon Offshore Berhad be able to turn things around? In any case, based on the above three recent announcements, I personally view it as a positive development for Icon Offshore Berhad and looking forward to see if the management could indeed turn around its revenue and future earnings, which would eventually help to translate into the stock trading at least back to its fair value of 13 cents. In conclusion, fundamentally, Icon Offshore is currently trading below its fair value of 13 cent net tangible asset per share, and technically, Icon Offshore is currently trading at the lowest range bound, which render the probability of having a rebound to the upside to be on the higher side. For this, I am willing to bet a small percentage of my capital onto Icon Offshore Berhad stocks and looking to exit this stock at around 12 to 13 cents within this year. At its current last trading price of 0.08 cents, this would represent an upside profit of 50% to 62.5%. This is the end of my sharing for today, and feel free to comment here should you have any views on Icon Offshore Berhad. Let us connect and grow together.